Caitlin Clark finally got her redemption last night, as the Connecticut Sun were pushed to a decisive game against the Minnesota Lynx. Marina Mabrey, who previously tried to confront Clark on the court, ended up taking a hard-hit, poetic justice for her earlier antics. Just 2 weeks ago, Marina was visibly frustrated, shouting at herself mid-game. Now, it seems karma is circling back. Clark has endured repeated targeting by opponents, but now the tables are turning. Marina isn't the only one facing consequences. Shortly after Dejanay Carrington took a jab at Clark, she was leveled by a Lynx player. The Sun's aggressive style is finally meeting resistance, and those who've dished it out are now being served a dose of their own medicine. Carrington looked ready to erupt but had to be restrained by teammates, just like Marina before her. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark watches from the sidelines as everything unfolds, finally seeing some justice without having to lift a finger.
A straight face, there's no agenda against Caitlin Clark. With a straight face. They're not targeting her, right? The WNBA is going to have to figure this out. The NBA figured out in the 80s to early 90s, they got to get rid of all that physical play. That's not a good product. That's not putting butts in the seats like scoring. By the way, that was not even a flagrant foul. But in the same breath, they want to call Aaliyah Boston for every single touch.
While Marina Mabrey's aggression is often framed as fierce competitive spirit, there have been multiple instances where it's crossed the line, prompting fans, analysts, and even fellow players to question whether her style veers more toward dirty play than fair competition. That tension came to a head during a high-stakes matchup against the Minnesota Lynx, when Mabrey found herself on the receiving end of what many saw as a brutal moment of karma. She was violently fouled, left clutching her face in obvious pain, and even more tellingly, in visible emotional distress. The image of her screaming on the court, shaken and unable to contain her frustration, stood in stark contrast to the persona she usually projects, a tough, relentless competitor willing to do anything to win. For many viewers, it was a turning point, a reckoning. Mabrey had built a reputation for playing on the edge, blurring the line between intensity and unsportsmanlike conduct. And in that moment, it seemed, the consequences of that approach had finally caught up with her.
People fighting tooth and nail the entire season, not wanting it to be this way because other people weren't getting flowers, or she was getting too much attention, or she gets a special whistle, or I'm gonna check her off the ball here.
What made this moment even more striking was the context surrounding it. Just months earlier, Marina Mabrey had been at the center of a highly publicized incident involving Caitlin Clark, another standout player known for her skill, focus, and composure under pressure. In that game, Mabrey's aggressive tactics drew widespread criticism. Many accused her of deliberately trying to disrupt Clark's rhythm with physical play that pushed the boundaries of legality. While Clark remained composed throughout the confrontation, it was clear to viewers that Mabrey had crossed a line, yet, at the time, there were no real consequences, no flagrant fouls, no suspensions, no accountability. It seemed she had walked away unscathed. That is, until now.
When they got eliminated from the playoffs, the attendance dropped. The ratings drop. If the WNBA is more, it is, and I get it. Why are people?
Foul Mabrey sustained during the game against the Minnesota Lynx was viewed by many as the universe finally balancing the scales. A player who had spent much of her career testing the limits of acceptable conduct on the court was now being confronted with the consequences of those choices. The blow she took wasn't just physical, it was symbolic. A stark reminder that in basketball, as in life, actions have consequences. And eventually, they catch up with you.
When I talk about this a little bit, in that we're still not talking about basketball.
No.
We're still not allowed to be focused on for our basketball.
It makes me a little sad to talk about this, because once again, we're not really talking about basketball. We're still not being allowed to be recognized purely for our game, for our skill, for what we bring to the court. Next voice. It wasn't just the hit itself that made the moment so powerful, it was the symbolism behind it. For years, Mabrey had played with an edge, pushing the boundaries of physical play without facing significant consequences. But in that single, jarring moment, she was forced to confront the reality of her actions. The foul she received wasn't just a physical blow, it was a reckoning. A message that her style of play had finally caught up with her. The pain she felt was more than physical, it cut deeper, revealing emotional weight as well. And it showed in her
22-year-old Caitlin Clark, who was single-handedly changed the game, brought in millions of other young fans, old fans. How about the ratings in college basketball for her? Record ratings And now in her very short WNBA career, shattering records. Isn't that a win for everybody? Yes, black players too, regardless of race, regardless of who they choose to sleep with. Like, what are we doing?
Dejanay Carrington, another player known for her aggressive and often controversial style of play, also found herself confronting the consequences of her actions. She had previously made headlines for delivering a hit that left Caitlin Clark with a black eye, an incident many viewed as deliberate and unsportsmanlike. The moment left a mark in more ways than one. It sparked widespread debate about the line between competitive intensity and reckless aggression, and just how far some players are willing to go to gain an edge.
Follow through and I hit her, so obviously it's never intentional. That's not even like the type of player that I am.
In the game, they caught you guys laughing about it?
No, I just told you I didn't even know.
The foul on Caitlin Clark wasn't seen as a mere accident. It was widely perceived as a calculated move by Carrington to disrupt one of the league's brightest stars. Up to that point, Clark had been dominating the game, but the hit visibly rattled her. The black eye she walked away with wasn't just a physical injury, it became a symbol of the increasingly rough and aggressive style of play emerging in the WNBA. Fans were outraged, and many began calling for stricter penalties and clearer boundaries for players who crossed the line.
Get poked in the eye. Caitlin said in media after that, that was accidental, that was unintentional, but we saw reporters gaslighting that situation, trying to make more of it, speaking to amplifying the wrong narratives. As a result of that, Dejanay Carrington posted getting threats based off of an incident that Caitlin Clark said this was a basketball type of thing. I pushed through, we played a game, she played a good game after that. So she minimized it, tried to erase it, and tried to send a message like, y'all, there's nothing here. That was one.
Caitlin Clark is coming. Some people think she's already arrived. I don't. I think she's going to be even better. I think that what she has done for women's basketball, especially in this country, has been phenomenal. There is no woman, no matter how great you were as a player, Cheryl Swoops, there is no woman who should negate mentioning Caitlin Clark and what Caitlin Clark is doing.